Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about slope, which you've seen in middle school, but we're going to go over it again so that we don't have any question about how slope works. And the worksheet you have in front of you has, 8 lines graphed on it. It's asking you to find the slope and the y-intercept of those lines. And I know you might want to work ahead, jump through it and be done, but I'm going to ask you to work through a few with me before you do that. Okay, those of you who struggle to see all of these lines graphed at the same time, one of the things you can do is you can take a highlighter. I think that's worse with the light, isn't it? Yep. You can take a highlighter and highlight the one line you're working on. So for instance, if I want to work on line A, I can highlight line A, and then it might be easier for me to follow. Okay, when we're finding slope, we're looking for the rise over the run. Now, the best thing to do with slope is to find 2, what I call pretty points. Okay, so you find 2 points that cross the grid on your paper nicely. For instance, for line A, like maybe I want to pick, I don't know, this point right here and this point right here. And you can see that that's where line A crosses these grid lines nicely. So this is the coordinate -2, 2. This is the coordinate -1, 1. Okay? If you pick points in between there, it's just not as easy to count your rise and your run. Okay, so first thing I want to talk about with line A is if I'm looking from left to right on this paper, line A is sloping downward. That tells me my slope for line A is going to be a negative number, okay? Now, I need to deal with my rise and my run. So I'm going to start at my leftmost point, and I'm going to see if I have to rise, or I'm going to count my rise and then count my run. So I need to go down 1 unit. That is my rise of 1, and I need to go over 1 unit. That's my run of 1. So my slope is going to be, again, rise over run. And for A, it's going to be 1 over 1, so my slope is -1. Easy enough? All right, let's do another one. Let's look at, surprise, line B. Okay, I'm going to highlight line B. All right, first thing I want to do is evaluate, is this a positive slope or a negative slope? So if you can put your pen on it, you can do whatever. If you look from left to right, you'll see that this line is sloping downward. So the slope of line B, whatever number it is going to be negative. All right, let's pick 2 pretty points. 2 places where it crosses the grid nicely. I like this one. And the next one over from there is right here. Okay, so let's talk about rise over run. My rise is 1, 2, 3 units. My run is 1 unit. So if I'm talking about rise, 3 over run of 1, my slope for line B is -3. Okay, as an aside, I want to talk about what happens if you don't pick pretty points, if you just pick 2 random places on the line. I'm going to pick right here and right here. Okay, so let's calculate my rise. Well, I'm not right on the grid, so I kind of have to count it I don't know, it's kind of hard to count. So I'm like, there's 1 unit, 2 units, 3 units, a little more, a little less, hard to tell. In my run, I'm like halfway. You're not counting exact units, so I highly suggest, and I encourage you, and frankly, I require you to find 2 pretty points when you're finding your rise and your run. Easy enough? All right, line C. Let's highlight. Okay, pick 2 pretty points. I like this one. Next one over is right here. Okay, now we're going to count our rise and our run. Before we do that, though, let's look at our graph. This is sloping upward from left to right, so the slope for line C is going to be a positive number. Let's count our rise. I need to go 2 units vertically, 3 units horizontally, so rise of 2 over run of 3, it's a slope of 2/3. What if you don't pick the same 2 pretty points I pick? Well, let's say you pick this point here, next pretty point is right here. You better get the same slope, otherwise it's not a line. So if I'm going to count my rise of 2, my run of 3, I get the same number, 2/3. Easy enough? All right, so you guys spend some time doing that. Practice that on your own. for lines D, G, H. I want to look really quickly at lines E and F. Line E. All right, let's pick two pretty points, here and here. We need to, so when I look at this, do I have a positive slope? Do I have a negative slope? I hope your answer is no. You have no slope. Another way you can think of it is you can look at your rise. How far up do you have to go over? Well, your rise is 0 over a run of 1, so your slope for line E is 0. This line is a horizontal line. It has a slope of 0. Let's look at line F on the same page here. All right, when you look at that and you say, does it have a positive slope or a negative slope? I hope your answer is no, it has who knows what. Let's look. Let's take a look mathematically. Let's pick two pretty points. All right, my rise is 1. My run, side to side, is 0. Now, take out your calculator for a minute and ask your calculator what happens when you divide 1 by 0. I'll wait. By now, your calculator's probably told you, error, cannot divide by 0. It is the 11th commandment, thou shalt not divide by 0. This is called an undefined number. You cannot divide by 0. So the slope of F is actually what we call undefined. It is a vertical line. We can't say what its slope is. It's undefined. Great. All right, the next step on your assignment is to find your y-intercepts. So let's go back and look at line A. The y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis. So there's a lot of lines on here. It's hard to see. If you need to, highlight your line, put your pen on your line, and then find your y-axis, which is the vertical axis. Find where it crosses, and what you care about there is going to be that y value. The x value is going to be 0, but your y value is what you care about. And in this case, your y-intercept for A is 0. Let's look at B. Here's line B again for us. What you care about is where line B crosses the y-axis. That happens up here. Now, obviously, the x value there is 0, but the y value is 6. So the y-intercept for line B is 6. Let's look at line C. Here's your line highlighted. Here is your y-axis. Where does it cross? It crosses at +4. So your y-intercept for line C is +4. Alrighty, I'm going to let you guys finish that up. Tomorrow when you come into class, my expectation is you will be able to look at a graph. You will be able to identify positive slopes, negative slopes. You will be able to count the rise over the run. You will recognize lines with a slope of 0, lines with an undefined slope, and you will be able to describe those as horizontal and vertical. Have a fabulous evening. I just cannot wait to see you tomorrow. Thank you.